Dust swirled across the landing pad as 3 alien ships touched down on Haven 7. Danny Carter watched from behind his mother's lab window, his nose pressed against the glass. The ships looked like giant beetles, their metal surfaces reflecting the orange sunset. He had never seen real aliens before, only pictures in his schoolbooks. "Stay close to me today," his mother said, adjusting her white lab coat. Dr. Helen Brooks was one of the colony's top scientists, which meant she had to attend boring meetings with important people. Usually Danny stayed home, but today was different. Today, the Galactic Assembly was visiting their colony. The colony of New Terra wasn't much to look at. 50,000 humans lived here, farming and building, trying to make Haven 7 feel like Earth. Most buildings were simple metal structures. The fanciest place was the diplomatic hall where the aliens would meet the human leaders. Danny's mom said this meeting was important. The aliens would decide if humans were good enough to join their club. Outside the hall, dozens of aliens gathered. Danny stared at them all. Some had scales, others had fur. One looked like a walking tree. Another had 6 arms. They all looked at the humans with the same expression. Danny couldn't quite name it, but it made him uncomfortable. Ambassador Richard Vale stood at the entrance, shaking hands and tentacles with each visitor. He smiled a lot, maybe too much. The man was trying hard to make everyone like humans. Danny's mom whispered that this was the ambassador's job, to make peace with aliens who thought humans were primitive. The biggest alien stood in the center of the crowd. He was at least 8 feet tall, covered in dark green scales that looked like armor. Scars crossed his face and arms. Other aliens moved away from him. Even the confident one seemed nervous. This alien didn't smile or try to be friendly. He just watched everything with cold yellow eyes. "That's Cruel," Helen whispered to Danny. "He's from the Sauron Empire. They're warriors. Very proud, very dangerous." Cruel spoke in a deep voice that rumbled like thunder. A small device on his chest translated his words into English. "Humans, you asked to join the assembly. You claim you deserve a place among the great civilizations." He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "I see only soft creatures hiding on a small colony. You have no strength, no honor. You are children playing at being adults." Ambassador Vale's smile became stiff. "We may be new to space travel, but humans have survived and thrived on our world for thousands of years. We have much to offer the assembly." "Survived?" Kroll stepped forward. His footsteps made the ground shake. "Your world must be very gentle if creatures like you survived." He pointed at the crowd of humans. "Look at them. Weak bodies, soft skin, no claws, no armor. Even your young are pathetic." That's when Cruel pointed directly at Danny. The alien's claw was as long as Danny's hand. Those yellow eyes focused on the boy, and Danny felt his heart beat faster. Not from fear exactly. From something else, anger. "This small one," Cruel said. "It represents your species, fragile, helpless." Helen pulled Danny behind her. "He's just a child. Leave him alone." "A child, yes, proving my point." Kroll turned to the other aliens. "The humans want respect they haven't earned. Let me propose something. A trial of courage, an old tradition among assembly races. I challenge this human child. If he shows bravery, I will support human membership. If he fails, I will vote against it, and I encourage others to do the same." The insectoid leader of the assembly, High Arbiter Quinn, stepped forward. His compound eyes reflected rainbow colors. "A trial of courage is within your rights under assembly law. But the human child must accept willingly." All eyes turned to Danny. Ambassador Vale looked panicked. Helen held her son's shoulders protectively. The other humans in the crowd started whispering. Some said this was a trap. Others said it was unfair. Danny felt his face get hot. The alien had called him weak. Had called all humans weak. His mom worked so hard every day. The farmers grew food in difficult soil. The builders constructed homes from almost nothing. The doctors saved lives with limited equipment. Humans weren't weak. They were tough. They had to be tough just to survive on this colony world. "What kind of trial?" Danny asked. His voice sounded smaller than he wanted. "Danny, no," his mother said. But Cruel smiled, showing sharp teeth. "A test of courage. You will face challenges in the arena. Non-lethal, of course. We're not barbarians. You may bring one companion creature from your world. If you survive with bravery, you prove human worth. If you run or hide, you prove you are weak." High Arbiter Quinn spoke again. The trial would take place in 3 days. "This gives time for preparation. Young human, you don't have to accept. No one will think less of you. But Danny knew that wasn't true. Everyone would think less of him. Worse, everyone would think less of all humans. This alien was using him to embarrass the entire colony, to keep humans from joining the assembly, to keep treating them like stupid children. I accept, Danny said. The crowd erupted. Humans shouted in protest. Aliens murmured in surprise. Helen knelt down and grabbed Danny's shoulders. Do you understand what you just agreed to?
He called us weak, Mom. He called me weak.
I have to show him he's wrong. Ambassador Vale looked sick. High Arbiter Quinn nodded slowly. It is decided. 3 days from now, the trial begins. May wisdom guide you, young human. Cruel laughed again, that same cold sound. 3 days to prepare. Bring your best companion creature. It won't matter. You will fail, and the galaxy will see that humans have no place among us. As the aliens left for their quarters, Danny felt his hands shaking. Not from fear. From the weight of what he'd just done. The entire colony's future now rested on a 10-year-old boy. His mother led him away from the diplomatic hall in silence. Other colonists stared at them. Some looked angry. Others looked sad. A few looked hopeful. That night, Danny couldn't sleep. He had agreed to face an alien warrior's challenge. He had 3 days to prepare. But prepare how? He was just a kid. He wasn't strong like Cruel. He wasn't a warrior. He was just Danny Carter, who liked reading about animals and playing explorer games with his friends. His mother sat on his bed. I have an idea, she said quietly. It's crazy. It might not work, but it's the only chance we have. What is it? Helen smiled slightly. Tomorrow I'm taking you to meet someone very special. Someone who doesn't know the meaning of fear. Someone who never ever gives up no matter what. Danny sat up. Who? Not who. What? Come to my lab in the morning. Bring thick gloves. She kissed his forehead and left. Danny lay back down, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere in his mother's wildlife sanctuary was a creature that might save humanity's reputation. He just had to hope it was enough to face whatever Cruel had planned. Morning light filtered through the dome covering the wildlife sanctuary. Danny followed his mother past rows of enclosures, each one housing animals brought from Earth. This place was her life's work, preserving Earth species on their new colony world. Most kids loved visiting the sanctuary. Today, Danny barely noticed the usual attractions. They walked past the elephant enclosure. The massive creature lifted its trunk in greeting. Helen waved but kept walking. Danny glanced at the elephant. It was huge and strong. Maybe that could be his companion. But his mother kept moving. Next came the big cats. A lion lounged on a rock, its mane golden in the artificial sunlight. In another enclosure, a tiger paced back and forth. Both were impressive predators, powerful and fast. Danny thought either one might intimidate Cruel. Still, Helen walked past them without stopping. The bear enclosure was next. A brown bear stood on its hind legs, almost as tall as Cruel had been. Its claws were long and sharp. Surely this was the companion his mother meant. Bears were symbols of strength. But again, Helen kept walking. Mom, where are we going? All of those animals were perfect. Too obvious, Helen said. Cruel expects us to bring something big and scary. He's faced down large predators before. His own world has creatures that would terrify a bear. We need something different, something unexpected. They reached the back section of the sanctuary. This area had smaller enclosures with extra security. Warning signs covered every fence. Danny read them as they walked. Danger. Keep distance. Authorized personnel only. Do not approach. What kind of animal needed this many warnings? Helen stopped at a medium-sized enclosure. It had 3 separate fences, each one electrified. Cameras monitored every angle. The door had 5 different locks. Through the fence, Danny could see a simple habitat with rocks, logs, and a small cave. Everything looked peaceful. Then he saw it. A creature about 3 feet long, gray and black fur, sleeping in a patch of sunlight. It looked almost cute. Definitely not dangerous. Danny was confused. That's it? That's supposed to help me face Cruel's challenge? Helen smiled. Don't let appearances fool you. Come on, I'll show you. They entered the security office next to the enclosure. Dr. Philip Stone sat at a desk covered with reports and medical scans. He looked up when they entered, then immediately shook his head. No. Whatever you're thinking, no. We don't have a choice, Philip, Helen said. That thing is a menace, a demon in fur. Last week it escaped again and attacked a loading mech. The week before it fought 3 security drones simultaneously. It wins every time. Helen, it doesn't follow rules. It doesn't respond to training. It barely tolerates humans. What is it? Danny asked. Philip pulled up a file on his computer. That young man is a honey badger, native to Africa and parts of Asia on Earth. Scientific name Mellivora capensis, and it is the most fearless, aggressive, stubborn creature your mother has ever convinced me to keep here. Helen sat down and gestured for Danny to do the same. Let me tell you about honey badgers. They're not actually badgers, despite the name. They're mustelids related to weasels and otters. But unlike their relatives, honey badgers have a reputation. What kind of reputation? Danny leaned forward. Philip pulled up video files. Watch and learn. The first video showed the honey badger in its enclosure. A maintenance drone entered to clean. The badger immediately attacked it, biting and clawing until the drone retreated. The second video showed the badger escaping through a small gap in the fence that looked impossible to fit through. The third video was the most impressive. The badger faced off against 3 of the sanctuary's wolves that had accidentally gotten into its enclosure. The wolves were each twice the badger's size. The badger didn't run. It charged at them, making a strange growling sound. The wolves backed down. They have no fear, Helen explained. Honey badgers have been documented fighting lions, hyenas, even water buffalo. They go after beehives to eat honey, getting stung hundreds of times, and they don't care. They have incredibly thick skin that's hard to bite through. They're resistant to most venoms, including snake bites that would kill a human in minutes. Danny watched more videos. The honey badger raiding the sanctuary cafeteria, destroying a locked refrigerator to get food. The honey badger climbing a supposedly unclimbable wall. The honey badger staring down a visiting alien dignitary until the alien left nervously. They're also incredibly smart, Philip added reluctantly. They can use tools, solve complex problems, and they never give up. Ever. If a honey badger decides it wants something, it will keep trying until it succeeds or physically cannot continue. Why do you keep it if it's so difficult? Danny asked. Helen looked at the sleeping creature through the window. Because it's endangered on Earth, and because despite everything I respect it. That honey badger has a spirit that humans should understand. It doesn't care if the enemy is bigger or stronger. It doesn't know how to quit. It fights for what it wants with everything it has. Philip showed another video. This one had audio. The honey badger made a sound that was part growl, part snarl, completely unlike any cute animal Danny had ever heard. It sounded like a threat and a promise. There's a saying about honey badgers, Helen said. They don't care. It became famous because it's true. Threats don't work on them. Pain doesn't stop them. They're possibly the most fearless animals on Earth. Danny understood now. Size didn't matter in courage. The honey badger proved that every day. Can I meet it? He asked. Philip stood up quickly. Absolutely not. That animal has bitten 4 handlers. It's not social. It's barely domesticated. It tolerates us because we feed it, but that's where the relationship ends. Helen put a hand on Philip's shoulder. Danny needs to try. The trial is in 2 days. If the honey badger won't cooperate, we'll find another option. But I think this might work. Why would it help me? Danny asked. If it doesn't like people, why would it fight for me in the arena? Honey badgers fight for themselves, Helen said. But they can form bonds, rare as that is. And once they pick a fight, they finish it. If we can make the honey badger understand that Cruel's creature is a threat, it'll do what it does best. Philip sighed. You'll need protective gear and food. It likes sweet things, hence the name honey badger. We have some treats that might interest it. They spent the next hour preparing. Danny put on thick leather gloves and a protective jacket. Helen gave him a container of honey cakes, the badger's favorite food. Philip opened the outer enclosure door remotely from the security office. Danny stepped inside carefully. The honey badger opened one eye, assessed him, then closed it again. Not asleep, Danny realized. Just uninterested. He sat down about 10 feet away and waited. His mother had told him not to approach too quickly. Let the badger come to him or not. Patience was key. An hour passed. Danny's legs fell asleep. The honey badger hadn't moved except to occasionally scratch itself. Danny opened the container of honey cakes. The sweet smell filled the enclosure. The badger's nose twitched. Both eyes opened now. Danny placed a honey cake on the ground and pushed it forward slightly. Then he waited. The badger stood, stretched, and waddled over. It was surprisingly graceful despite its stocky build. It sniffed the honey cake, looked at Danny, then ate the treat in 2 bites. Those eyes studied him. Danny felt like he was being evaluated. He placed another honey cake down, this time closer. The badger approached, ate it, and didn't retreat. They continued this pattern until the badger was close enough to touch. Danny didn't reach out. He just sat there holding another honey cake in his open palm. The badger took the cake from his hand. Its mouth was surprisingly gentle despite the sharp teeth Danny could see. It finished eating, then did something unexpected. It sat down next to him. Good. Helen's voice came through a speaker. You're doing great. Now talk to it. Let it hear your voice. Danny felt silly talking to an animal, but he tried. He told the badger about the challenge, about Cruel, about how the alien thought humans were weak. The badger listened, or at least it didn't leave. It looked at him with dark, intelligent eyes. I need help, Danny admitted. I'm just a kid, but I can't back down. Too many people are counting on me. I know you don't care about humans or aliens or any of that, but if you help me, I'll make sure you get all the honey cakes you want, and maybe we can be friends. The badger made a sound, not aggressive, almost considering. Then it did something that made Danny's heart jump. It pressed its head against his leg. Not a cuddle exactly, more like an acknowledgement. A tiny gesture that meant everything. Over the next 2 days, Danny visited the honey badger 6 more times. Each visit, the bond grew slightly stronger. The badger allowed Danny to walk beside it. It followed simple commands when it felt like it. Philip was amazed. Helen was hopeful. The morning of the trial arrived. Danny put on his arena clothes, simple, tough fabric that could withstand rough conditions. He went to the enclosure one last time. The honey badger was awake, pacing. It knew something was happening. Ready? Danny asked. The badger looked at him and made that distinctive sound. Half growl, half promise. Together they walked toward the arena where thousands would watch, where Cruel waited with his alien champion, where humanity's reputation would rise or fall based on what happened next. The arena doors opened with a mechanical hiss that echoed through the biodome. Danny's hands were sweating inside his gloves despite the cool air. Behind him, the honey badger walked calmly, its claws clicking on the metal floor. The sound of the crowd hit them like a wave. 10,000 beings filled the stands. Humans clustered in one section, their faces tight with worry. The rest were aliens of every imaginable type. Some had technology that floated around them. Others had multiple heads that all turned to watch. The noise was overwhelming. Hundreds of different languages creating a wall of sound that Danny's translator couldn't fully process. The arena floor stretched out before them. A massive space with different terrain sections. Sand, rocks, water, and thick vegetation divided the space. Stadium lights illuminated everything, making it bright as midday. Cameras on floating drones circled overhead, broadcasting the trial to colony monitors and across the local galactic network. On the opposite side of the arena, Cruel emerged. The massive Sauron warrior wore traditional armor now, scales on scales making him look even larger. But it wasn't Cruel that made Danny's stomach drop. The creature beside Cruel was enormous. It stood on 4 legs, each one thick as tree trunks. Its body was covered in armored plates that overlapped like roof tiles. The head was broad and flat, with saber-like teeth protruding from its jaw. Small red eyes glowed with predatory intelligence. The beast was easily the size of a small vehicle. Behold Gorath, an alien announcer declared. Tal was his name. A 4-armed creature whose voice projected throughout the arena. Pride of the Sauron homeworld. Descended from the apex predators that shaped warrior culture. Gorath has defeated challengers across 12 star systems. Unbeaten, unstoppable. The crowd cheered, mostly the alien section. The humans remained quiet. And here, the human challenger. Tal continued, his tone shifting to something almost mocking. A juvenile human named Danny Carter, and his companion, a creature called a honey badger. Cameras zoomed in on the honey badger. On the massive screens around the arena, Danny could see what everyone else saw. A small, stocky animal with gray and black fur. Barely 3 feet long, maybe 30 pounds. Next to Gorath's hulking mass, the honey badger looked like a toy. Laughter rippled through the alien section. Some made sounds that Danny's translator rendered as dismissive snorts. One alien commentator spoke loud enough for Danny to hear. Is this a joke? That tiny creature versus Gorath? The human child has already lost. The honey badger, for its part, seemed unconcerned with the attention. It looked around the arena with casual interest, then focused on Gorath. Its body language didn't change. No fear, no aggression yet. Just assessment High Arbiter Quinn descended from the stands on a floating platform. His insectoid form glittered under the lights, compound eyes reflecting rainbow patterns. He landed between the two teams. The trial of courage consists of 3 challenges, Quinn announced, each designed to test bravery, quick thinking, and the bond between warrior and companion. Krull the Destroyer has issued this challenge. Danny Carter has accepted. The stakes are clear. Should the human child succeed, the Galactic Assembly will view humanity favorably. Should he fail, humanity's application for membership will face severe scrutiny. Krull raised a clawed hand. The boy will fail. His creature is pathetic. Look at it. Gorath could swallow it whole. Ambassador Vale stood in the human section. The trial hasn't begun. Save your judgment. Danny knelt next to the honey badger. Up close, he could see the scars under its fur. Old wounds from fights it had won. The badger glanced at him, then back at Gorath. It made a low sound, almost inaudible. Danny recognized it from their time together. The badger was interested now. Challenge 1, Quinn declared. The Bridge of Fear. Part of the arena floor opened, revealing a deep pit. Mechanical arms extended a narrow bridge across it, barely 3 feet wide. The pit below was dark, but sounds echoed up. Screeches and howls that made Danny's skin crawl. Cross the bridge while aerial predators attack from above, Tal explained. The predators are sky rippers native to the gas moon of Talon 5. They dive at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. Their claws can shred metal, reach the other side without falling. Gorath bellowed, a sound that shook the arena. Krull mounted the beast's back, and together they approached the bridge. The moment they stepped onto it, creatures dove from hidden perches in the dome ceiling. Sky rippers looked like a cross between bats and eagles, with leathery wings spanning 10 feet. Their beaks were hooked and sharp. They screamed as they dove at Krull and Gorath. The Sauron warrior swung a weapon, driving them back. Gorath snapped at any that came close. One sky ripper managed to rake its claws across Gorath's armored back. The scales turned the attack, barely scratched. They crossed the bridge in under a minute, Gorath's weight making the structure shake with each step. Krull raised his weapon in triumph. The alien crowd cheered. Some humans looked even more worried. How could Danny and the honey badger possibly match that? Human challenger, proceed, Quinn commanded. Danny walked to the bridge. It looked narrower up close, the metal slick under the lights. The pit below seemed bottomless. He took a breath and stepped onto the bridge. The honey badger followed without hesitation. Immediately, sky rippers dove. Danny ducked as one swooped past his head. Another came from the side, and he stumbled, nearly losing balance. The bridge swayed under him. His heart hammered. He forced himself forward, one step at a time. Behind him, the honey badger stopped. Danny turned, afraid it had frozen. But the badger wasn't scared. It was angry. A sky ripper dove directly at the badger. Instead of dodging, the honey badger leaped up to meet it. The collision happened in midair. The badger's jaws clamped onto the sky ripper's wing. They fell together onto the bridge, rolling. The sky ripper screeched and tried to break free. The honey badger held on, its teeth sinking deeper. Finally, the sky ripper managed to tear away, flying off with a damaged wing, leaving the fight entirely. The crowd went quiet. On the big screens, replays showed the moment in detail. The honey badger, tiny compared to the predator, had attacked first. Not defending, attacking. Did that small creature just challenge a sky ripper? Tal's voice held confusion. Sky rippers are natural predators. They're supposed to be the threat. Another sky ripper dove. The honey badger jumped again, this time catching the creature by its leg. They spun on the bridge, the sky ripper trying to fly away while the badger held on with stubborn strength. Finally, it let go, and the second sky ripper fled. The remaining sky rippers circled but didn't attack. They had learned. That small creature on the bridge was more dangerous than it looked. Danny and the honey badger crossed the rest of the bridge without further attacks. When they reached the other side, the human section erupted in cheers. The alien section buzzed with surprised chatter. Krull stared at the honey badger with new interest. Brave for its size. But size matters. The next challenges will be harder. High Arbiter Quinn studied the honey badger carefully. Interesting. Most creatures flee from sky rippers. This one attacked them. He turned to Danny. What drives your companion to such aggression? Danny thought about everything his mother had taught him. Honey badgers don't really understand fear the way other animals do. They just see threats and remove them. Fascinating, Quinn said. Challenge 2 awaits. The arena floor shifted again. Walls rose from the ground, creating a maze. The entrance yawned before them, dark and foreboding. Sounds echoed from within, growls, hisses, and scratching. The maze of shadows, Tal announced. Navigate through darkness while pack hunters stalk you. These creatures hunt by sound and movement. They attack in groups, overwhelming prey with numbers. Reach the center of the maze to proceed. Cruel and Gorath entered first. The darkness swallowed them immediately. Sounds of fighting echoed out. Gorath's roars mixed with alien screeches. Something yelped in pain, not Gorath. Minutes passed. Then Cruel emerged at the maze's center, Gorath beside him. Both were unmarked. Whatever they had faced inside hadn't slowed them at all. Your turn, human child, Cruel called out. Let's see if your little companion is brave in the dark. Danny picked up a flashlight provided at the maze entrance. Its beam seemed weak against the thick darkness ahead. The honey badger pressed against his leg, not seeking comfort but staying close for practical reasons. They stepped into the maze together. The darkness closed around them like a fist. Somewhere ahead, pack hunters waited. Danny's light barely reached 10 feet. His breathing sounded loud in his ears. Next to him, the honey badger's eyes reflected the light. It wasn't looking at Danny. It was looking deeper into the maze where things waited in the shadows. That low growl started in its throat again. The badger wasn't afraid of the dark. It was ready to fight whatever lived in it. Danny gripped his flashlight tighter and followed his companion deeper into the maze. Behind them, the entrance sealed shut, leaving them alone with the hunters. The maze walls absorbed Danny's flashlight beam like they were made of shadow itself. Each turn looked identical, metal corridors stretching into darkness. His footsteps echoed, mixing with sounds that came from everywhere and nowhere. Scratching, breathing, movement just beyond his light's reach. The honey badger trotted ahead now, nose working, reading scents Danny couldn't detect. It showed no hesitation at each intersection, choosing directions with confidence. Danny followed, trusting the animal's instincts over his own confusion. A shape darted across the corridor ahead, fast, low to the ground, gone before Danny could focus his light on it. Then another from the opposite direction, and another. They were being surrounded. The pack hunters emerged from the darkness slowly, letting themselves be seen. They looked like reptilian wolves, sleek bodies covered in dark scales that blended with the shadows. 6 legs each, allowing them to move in ways that seemed wrong, sideways and backwards as easily as forward. Their eyes reflected Danny's light, dozens of pinpoints in the darkness. At least 8 creatures circled them, probably more hiding nearby. Danny's throat went dry. These things were built for hunting. Pack tactics, overwhelming prey with numbers and coordination. He was just a kid with a flashlight. The honey badger was small. How could they possibly fight their way through? The pack hunters spread out, cutting off retreat. One of them made a clicking sound and the others responded. Communication. They were planning their attack. Then the honey badger did something that made Danny's eyes widen. It charged, not away from the pack hunters, directly at the nearest one. The pack hunter, easily twice the badger's size, clearly expected the small creature to flee. Instead, it found itself under attack. The honey badger moved with shocking speed, getting under the pack hunter's legs, biting at its underbelly where scales were thinner. The pack hunter screeched and tried to shake the badger off. Its packmates rushed in to help. Danny expected them to overwhelm the honey badger through numbers. But the badger fought like it had trained for this its entire life. It rolled, dodged, bit, and clawed. When one pack hunter grabbed it, the badger twisted and bit its snout so hard the creature released immediately. Danny realized he was just standing there watching. He forced himself to move, following the honey badger deeper into the maze while it was busy creating chaos among the pack hunters. But 3 more emerged ahead, blocking the path. These ones focused on Danny. His hands shook as he raised his flashlight like a weapon, knowing it was useless. The pack hunters approached in coordinated steps, splitting to attack from different angles. Danny backed against a wall. This was it. He was going to fail the trial right here. A gray and black blur shot past his legs. The honey badger had broken off from the other fight and now launched itself at the pack hunters, threatening Danny. It went for the leader first, the largest one, targeting its eyes. The creature reared back, trying to protect its face. The badger climbed it like a ladder, clawing and biting. The other 2 pack hunters tried to help their leader. They grabbed at the honey badger, finally pulling it off. The badger hit the ground hard but was up instantly, that distinctive growl rumbling from its throat. It bled from several cuts. Its fur was torn in places. It should have been retreating, looking for escape. Instead, it attacked again. Danny watched in amazement as the honey badger fought with absolutely no regard for its own safety. It took hits that should have slowed it down, bites that should have made it retreat. It just kept fighting, relentless and furious. The pack hunters, bred and trained for this kind of combat, started backing away. They made nervous sounds, confusion evident in their body language. This small creature was supposed to be prey. Why was it winning? The pack leader decided the fight wasn't worth it. It clicked a retreat signal. The pack hunters melted back into the shadows, leaving their opponents alone. Danny heard them moving away through the maze, their footsteps fading. The honey badger stood in the corridor, breathing hard, blood on its fur. It looked back at Danny, not seeking approval or comfort, just checking if he was coming. They continued through the maze. Each time pack hunters appeared, the same pattern repeated. The honey badger attacked first, fought without fear, and the hunters eventually withdrew. Danny's role became following behind and trying not to slow them down. Then they found the nest, a wider chamber where dozens of pack hunters had made their home. Bones littered the floor, remains of previous prey. At least 20 pack hunters filled the space, with more probably nearby. This wasn't just a challenge anymore. This was genuinely dangerous. Danny's translator picked up sounds from outside the maze. The crowd arguing. Someone saying they should stop the trial, that it was too dangerous. Ambassador Vale demanding to know if the maze was supposed to have this many predators. But Danny didn't hear any official call to stop. The trial continued. The honey badger assessed the nest full of pack hunters. Any sane creature would find another route. The badger walked straight in. What happened next would be replayed on galactic news networks for weeks. The honey badger moved through the nest like a tiny storm. It targeted the most aggressive pack hunters first, teaching them that attacking meant pain. When they tried to mob it with numbers, the badger used the maze walls, never letting them surround it completely. Danny ran when the honey badger created openings, following its lead. The pack hunters snapped at him, but the badger always intercepted, positioning itself between Danny and danger. It was protecting him while simultaneously fighting its own battle. They reached the nest's far side. The path to the maze center lay ahead, but between them and exit stood the largest pack hunter Danny had seen yet. Probably the alpha of the entire colony. It was nearly the size of Gorath, with scars showing it had survived many fights. The honey badger stopped. For the first time since entering the maze, it paused. Danny wondered if it finally recognized a fight it couldn't win. Then the badger made that sound again. Half growl, half promise. It launched itself at the alpha. The fight was brutal. The alpha pack hunter had strength and size. The honey badger had fury and determination. They rolled across the floor, colliding with walls. The alpha bit down on the badger's shoulder. Most creatures would have surrendered. The honey badger twisted in the grip and bit the alpha's face. The alpha released and backed away, making pained sounds. It looked at the honey badger, seeing something in the smaller creature that made it reconsider. This wasn't prey. This wasn't even a worthy opponent. This was something else entirely. Something that didn't understand losing. The alpha pack hunter turned and fled into the darkness. The rest of its colony scattered with it. The honey badger limped to Danny's feet. Its injuries were catching up to it now, adrenaline fading. Blood matted its fur in several places. One eye was swelling shut. But it looked up at Danny and made a sound that almost seemed satisfied. They emerged from the maze together into bright light. The crowd noise hit them again, but different now. The alien section wasn't laughing anymore. Shocked silence dominated most of the stands. On the screens, replays showed the honey badgers fight through the maze. Cameras had captured everything. Tal, the announcer, seemed at a loss for words. The human child and his companion have completed the maze of shadows. Medical teams, please attend to the honey badger's injuries. Drones descended with medical equipment. The honey badger growled at them but allowed treatment when Danny placed a hand on its head. The medical drones sprayed sealant on cuts, injected painkillers, and checked vital signs. Their scans appeared on the arena screens. An alien medic spoke. Multiple lacerations, 2 cracked ribs, various contusions, but also evidence of previous injuries fully healed. This creature has fought before. Many times. The medic paused, looking at new data. It was also bitten by a nest creature. Those bites carry paralyzing venom, the crowd murmured. High Arbiter. Quinn flew closer on his platform. The creature should be paralyzed. Why is it still mobile? Helen stood in the human section. Honey badgers have strong resistance to venom. Snake bites that would kill most creatures barely slow them down. Their metabolism processes toxins differently. Cruel stepped forward, Gorath beside him. The Sorin warrior no longer looked amused. Your companion is tougher than its size suggests. I acknowledge this. But the final challenge will determine the trial's outcome. Gorath is undefeated. Your honey badger, brave as it is, cannot match Gorath in direct combat. The honey badger turned to look at Gorath. Even injured and exhausted, it didn't look away. It stared at the massive beast with that same fearless assessment it had used on everything else. High Arbiter Quinn raised his voice. The final challenge. Single combat. Companion versus companion. The victor's human advances, humanity standing in the assembly. The loser's species faces sanctions and restrictions. This is the tradition. This is the law. A section of the arena floor lowered, creating a circular pit. Medical drones finished treating the honey badger and withdrew. Danny knelt beside his companion. You don't have to do this, he whispered. You've done so much already. No one would blame you for stopping. The honey badger looked at him. Then it looked at Gorath. Then it walked toward the pit on its own, limping slightly but moving with purpose. Krull laughed, but it sounded uncertain. Your creature has courage. But courage isn't enough. Gorath into the pit. The massive beast entered the combat arena. Gorath's armored plates gleamed under the lights. Its saber teeth dripped saliva. Every muscle rippled with power. It weighed at least 40 times what the honey badger weighed. Size, strength, armor, weapons. Everything favored Gorath. The honey badger entered the pit from the opposite side. It looked tiny in comparison. On the screens, the size difference was absurd. Gorath could step on the badger and crush it, but as cameras zoomed in on the honey badger's face, Danny saw what everyone else saw. No fear in those eyes, no doubt. Just determination. The fight that would decide humanity's future was about to begin. Silence filled the arena. 10,000 beings held their breath. Cameras circled the combat pit, broadcasting every angle to screens around the dome and across the galaxy. In the human section, people gripped their seats. In the alien sections, creatures leaned forward, antennae and tentacles twitching with anticipation. High Arbiter Quinn hovered above the pit on his floating platform. The final challenge begins when I signal. Combat continues until one companion surrenders, becomes unable to fight, or is defeated. Are both sides ready? Krull stood at the pit's edge, confident. Gorath is ready. End this quickly, my champion. Danny looked down at the honey badger. It stood in the center of the pit, apparently unconcerned by Gorath's massive form circling on the opposite side. The medical treatment had sealed its wounds, but Danny could see the animal was tired. It had fought through 2 challenges already. Now it faced a creature that outweighed it by hundreds of pounds. You can do this, Danny said quietly. He didn't know if it was true, but he believed in the honey badger's spirit. Quinn raised one of his limbs. Begin! Gorath charged immediately. The ground shook with each step. Its armored body was built for this. Generations of breeding creating the perfect combat beast. Teeth flashed, claws extended. The attack was overwhelming, designed to crush opposition through pure force. The honey badger didn't run. It charged back. The collision should have ended the fight. Gorath's mass alone should have flattened the smaller creature. But the honey badger went low at the last second, sliding under Gorath's body. As it passed underneath, it bit into Gorath's underbelly where armor plates didn't fully connect. Gorath bellowed in pain and surprise. It spun, trying to catch the honey badger, but the smaller creature had already moved. The badger circled, staying mobile, looking for openings. Krull's expression changed from confidence to confusion. Gorath, crush it. Use your weight, Gorath tried. It reared up and came down with its full weight, attempting to pin the honey badger. The badger rolled aside. The impact crater showed what would have happened if it had connected. But it hadn't connected. The honey badger attacked Gorath's legs now, biting at joints and tendons. Each bite targeted weak points with surgical precision. Gorath kicked, sending the badger flying across the pit. The smaller creature hit the wall hard enough that Danny heard the impact. The crowd gasped. Several aliens made sounds of satisfaction, thinking it was over. The honey badger should stay down from that kind of hit. It got back up. Blood ran from the badger's nose. Its breath came in pants. but it walked back toward Gorath, that same determination burning in its eyes. The fight continued. Tal, the announcer, spoke with something like awe in his voice. The honey badger has sustained impacts that would kill most creatures its size. It continues to fight. Why, what drives it? Helen's voice carried from the stands. Honey badgers don't have the same pain response as other mammals. Their nervous systems process pain differently. They feel it, but it doesn't stop them. That's not natural, another alien commentator said. That's not survival instinct. That's something else. In the pit, the pattern repeated. Gorath used power and size. The honey badger used speed and strategy. It couldn't match Gorath's strength, so it didn't try. Instead, it went for the same spots repeatedly, wearing down the larger beast through persistence. Gorath caught the honey badger in its jaws. The massive teeth closed around the smaller creature's body. The crowd thought this was the end. No creature could escape Gorath's bite. The honey badger twisted, somehow finding a gap, and bit Gorath's tongue. Gorath released immediately, roaring in pain. The honey badger dropped, landed on its feet, and immediately attacked again. It went for Gorath's eyes now, climbing the larger beast's face. Gorath thrashed wildly, trying to shake it off. The honey badger held on, clawing and biting. Finally, Gorath managed to throw the honey badger off. The smaller creature hit the ground hard and didn't get up immediately. Its sides heaved with effort. One of its legs bent at a wrong angle, possibly broken. Cruel smiled. Now, Gorath, finish it. Gorath approached slowly, limping slightly from the accumulated damage to its legs. It raised one massive foot to crush the downed honey badger. This was the end. The honey badger surged up with its last burst of energy. It couldn't run on the broken leg, but it could jump. It launched itself at Gorath's throat, jaws wide. The bite landed perfectly. The honey badger's teeth sank into the soft tissue beneath Gorath's armored jaw. It hung there, jaws locked, refusing to let go even as Gorath thrashed in panic. Gorath tried everything. It slammed itself against the pit walls, trying to crush the honey badger. It rolled on the ground, attempting to dislodge the smaller creature. It clawed at its own throat, trying to pull the badger off. Nothing worked. The honey badger's jaws stayed locked. Blood ran from the wound. Not enough to kill quickly, but Gorath was suffocating. The badger's weight pulled down on the throat, restricting airflow. The massive beast's movements became more desperate, less coordinated. Cruel stood at the pit's edge, disbelief on his face. Gorath, throw it off! You're stronger. Use your strength, but strength didn't matter if you couldn't breathe. Gorath's movements slowed. Its eyes rolled in panic. The beast tried to roar, but only a choking sound emerged. Stop this, someone in the alien section shouted. The honey badger will kill Gorath. High Arbiter Quinn watched carefully. The rules are clear. Combat continues until surrender or defeat. Warrior Krull, do you call your champion back? Krull's pride warred with practical concern. Gorath was his companion, trained since birth. But to call retreat was to admit defeat, to accept that a creature the size of his forearm had bested the pride of the Sorin Empire. Gorath's legs buckled. The massive beast fell to its knees, then onto its side. Its breathing was ragged and weak. The honey badger still held on, jaws locked, not releasing even slightly. I yield, Krull said finally, his voice barely audible. Then louder, I yield. Stop the fight, Quinn signaled. Combat ends. Release honey badger, but the honey badger didn't let go. It had locked into fight mode, and instinct wouldn't release until the threat was neutralized. Danny ran to the pit's edge. Let go, he called down. It's over. You won. The honey badger's eyes found Danny. Some recognition flickered. Slowly, painfully, it released its grip. Gorath gasped for air, staying down. Medical drones swarmed both creatures immediately. The honey badger collapsed. It had given everything, pushed past exhaustion and injury, fought with nothing left in reserve. Medical scans showed broken bones, torn muscles, internal bleeding. But it had won. The arena remained silent for a long moment. Then the human section erupted. Cheers, screams, tears of relief. People hugged each other, unable to believe what they had witnessed. In the alien sections, the response was different. Not cheers, but stunned recognition. They had seen something today that challenged everything they thought they knew about combat, about courage, about what made a true warrior. Tal found his voice. The trial is complete. Danny Carter and his companion, the honey badger, have succeeded. All 3 challenges completed. Victory in single combat achieved. High Arbiter Quinn descended into the pit. Medical drones were working on the honey badger. stabilizing its condition. The creature was unconscious now, finally allowing itself to rest. "Bring the human child down," Quinn ordered. Danny climbed into the pit, rushing to the honey badger's side. The medical drones assured him the animal would survive. Injuries were serious but treatable. The honey badger had fought through worse and recovered. Krul approached slowly. The massive Sauron warrior looked different now. Smaller somehow despite his size. He knelt in front of Danny, an incredible gesture for a warrior of his status. "I challenged you believing humans were weak," Krul said. "I was wrong. Not about human physical strength. About human spirit. You brought a companion that embodies everything the Sauron Empire claims to value. Courage, persistence, refusal to surrender. I have fought warriors across the galaxy. I have never seen anything like what I witnessed today." He stood and addressed the crowd. "I, Krul the Destroyer, publicly apologize to humanity. I will vote for their full inclusion in the Galactic Assembly. More than that, I will advocate for them. Any species that produces companions like this deserves respect." Ambassador Vale looked like he might cry from relief. Helen ran to the pit, climbing down to hold her son in check on the honey badger. Other humans poured over the edges. Celebration overwhelming protocol. High Arbiter Quinn raised his voice to be heard. "The trial has concluded. The human child showed exceptional courage. But it was the honey badger that truly opened our eyes. What manner of world produces creatures like this?" Helen, still holding Danny, answered, "Earth is a competitive world. Harsh in places, beautiful in others. Our wildlife evolved to survive in difficult conditions. The honey badger is just one example." One example, an alien scientist pushed forward. "You have more creatures like this?" "We have lions, bears, elephants, crocodiles, orcas, tigers," Helen listed. "We have creatures that hunt in the deep ocean, and creatures that survive in frozen wastelands. We have adapted to live alongside them. That's what humans do. We adapt, we persist, we don't give up." The alien scientist made rapid notes. "Your world is classified as a high-danger environment in our databases. We assumed that meant humans evolved to be cautious, careful, but you evolved to be stubborn instead." Danny looked down at the honey badger, now resting peacefully under medical care. "We learned from them," he said quietly. "They taught us how to survive." Around the arena, cameras continued broadcasting. News of the trial spread across galactic networks. A human child and an Earth creature had changed how the galaxy saw humanity, not through size or strength, but through spirit. 3 days after the trial, the Galactic Assembly convened in the diplomatic hall. The room had been expanded to accommodate representatives from over 200 species. Floating platforms held delegates in various atmospheres, from methane breathers to silicon-based life forms. Translators hummed with hundreds of languages converting to understandable speech. Danny sat in the front row of the human section, wearing his best clothes. They felt uncomfortable compared to his normal shirt and pants. His mother sat beside him, also dressed formally. Ambassador Vale stood at the podium waiting for the session to begin. The honey badger was in the medical facility recovering. Doctors said it would be back to full health in a week, maybe 2. The creature had already tried to escape the medical bay twice. Dr. Stone had to install extra locks. Some things never changed. High Arbiter Quinn called the assembly to order. "We gather to vote on humanity's application for full membership in the Galactic Assembly. The trial has concluded. Evidence has been presented. We will hear testimony before the vote." Krul stood first. The Sauron warrior's presence commanded attention. "I initiated the challenge that led to the trial. I believed humans were weak, unworthy of membership. I was proven wrong in the most dramatic fashion possible. The human child showed courage, but it was his companion that taught me the true lesson." He activated a holographic display showing the honey badger's fight with Gorath. The assembled delegates watched in silence. Some had already seen the footage. Others were viewing it for the first time. The reactions were universal: shock, disbelief, respect. "This creature is smaller than my arm," Krul continued. "It faced a beast 40 times its weight. It sustained injuries that should have ended the fight multiple times. It never stopped, never retreated, never surrendered." He paused. "I have been a warrior my entire life. I have trained with the best fighters in the galaxy. I have never seen determination like this. If humanity shares even a fraction of this spirit, they belong in the assembly. I vote yes." An alien from the crystalline world spoke next. "The honey badger is an anomaly. One creature does not represent an entire species. Helen stood asking permission to address the assembly. Quinn granted it. She walked to the podium with a data tablet. The honey badger is not an anomaly. It's one example of Earth's wildlife. She brought up images. This is a saltwater crocodile. It can grow to 20 feet and has the strongest bite force of any Earth animal. This is a polar bear, surviving in temperatures that would kill most beings in this room. This is an orca, apex predator of our oceans, hunting in coordinated packs with intelligence that rivals many spacefaring species. More images appeared. Lions, anacondas, elephants, great white sharks, wolverines, each one accompanied by data on their capabilities, their survival strategies, their place in Earth's ecosystem. Earth is what galactic classification calls a high-danger world, Helen continued. Strong gravity, extreme weather variations, aggressive wildlife. Humanity evolved on this world. We didn't just survive. We thrived. We learned to adapt, to cooperate, to never give up when faced with challenges. An insectoid delegate raised a limb. This explains human resilience. But it also raises concerns. If your world produces such dangerous creatures and you learned from them, are humans themselves dangerous? Ambassador Vale stepped forward. Humans are capable of violence when necessary. We don't deny that. But we're also capable of compassion, creativity, and cooperation. The honey badger fought to protect Danny, not for conquest or domination. Humans fight when we must, but we prefer peace when possible. The crystalline delegate spoke again. Words are easy. Proof is harder. How do we know humans won't bring their world's violence into the assembly? Danny surprised everyone by standing. His mother tried to pull him back down, but Quinn gestured for him to speak. May I say something? Danny's voice was small in the huge chamber, but the translators carried it to every delegate. Proceed, young human, Quinn said. I was scared during the trial, Danny admitted. Really scared. The honey badger wasn't scared, but I was. I thought about running away, about giving up. But I didn't because too many people were counting on me. He looked around the chamber. Humans get scared. We feel pain. We understand when we're outmatched. But we learned something from living on Earth, from living with creatures like the honey badger. We learned that fear doesn't have to stop you. That being smaller or weaker doesn't mean you lose. That fighting for something important is worth the risk. He pointed to a screen showing the honey badger's medical scans. That animal fought for me even though it got hurt. It didn't have to. It could have stayed in its sanctuary, safe and fed. But when I needed help, it helped. That's what humans do too. We help each other. We help our friends. And if you let us join the assembly, we'll help you too. Silence filled the chamber. Then a delegate from the amphibian world spoke. The child speaks with wisdom beyond his years. I propose we vote. High Arbiter Quinn nodded. The vote is called. All in favor of granting humanity full membership in the Galactic Assembly. Lights appeared across the chamber as delegates activated their voting systems. Green for yes, red for no, yellow for abstain. Danny held his breath. The votes tallied quickly. Green lights dominated the chamber. Not unanimous, but overwhelming. When the count finished, Quinn announced the result. With 173 votes in favor, 19 against, and 11 abstentions, humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Assembly. Welcome, humans! The human section erupted in cheers. People hugged, cried, laughed. Ambassador Vale looked like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Helen pulled Danny into a tight hug, but the session wasn't over. A delegate from the Merchant Guild stood. Full membership grants humanity access to galactic trade routes, technology sharing, and mutual defense agreements. But I have a question. The honey badger. Can humans provide more of these creatures? Helen looked confused. Why would you want honey badgers? Security, the merchant said. We have problems with pirates and thieves. Automated defenses can be hacked. Trained guards can be bribed. But a creature that never gives up, never surrenders, never stops fighting, that's valuable. Other delegates murmured agreement. Requests started flooding in. Research stations wanted honey badgers to study. Military organizations wanted to understand their pain resistance. Zoos wanted them for education. Within minutes, humans had gone from applicants to having something the galaxy wanted. Ambassador Vale raised his hands for quiet. Honey badgers are endangered on Earth. We can't just hand them out. But we're willing to discuss conservation partnerships, research agreements, and educational programs. The discussion shifted from membership to trade. It turned out Earth had numerous things the galaxy found interesting: genetic diversity, unique biochemistry, cultural products, and yes, wildlife that embodied traits the galaxy respected. The session concluded hours later with framework agreements for dozens of cooperative ventures. Humanity wasn't just accepted, they were welcomed. All because of a 10-year-old boy and a stubborn animal that didn't know how to quit. That evening, Danny visited the medical facility. The honey badger was awake, looking grumpy about being confined. Medical equipment monitored its healing. When Danny entered, the badger looked up and made that sound, half growl, half greeting. "You're famous," Danny told it. "The whole galaxy is talking about you." "There's already a documentary being made." "You're a hero." The honey badger didn't seem impressed. It tried to bite through the medical tape on one of its bandages. Dr. Stone entered with a data tablet. "The recovery is going well. Another week and it should be back to full health, though I suspect it'll try to escape before then." He paused. "There's been a request. Well, multiple requests. Other species want to meet the honey badger. Photo opportunities, diplomatic gestures, that sort of thing." Danny looked at the badger, imagining it at formal events with alien dignitaries. "I don't think it would like that." Agreed, I told them no. The honey badger isn't a pet or a performer. It's a wild animal that happened to help us when we needed it. Stone smiled. "Though I did negotiate something. The Assembly is funding a new wildlife sanctuary, bigger, better equipped, specifically for Earth species preservation. The honey badger gets the best enclosure naturally. Will it try to escape from that one too? Probably. But now we have alien technology to build better locks." Stone checked his tablet. "There's one more thing. The Assembly wants to create an award. The Honey Badger Commendation, for beings who show exceptional courage against overwhelming odds. They want to present the first one to you." Danny shook his head. "Give it to the badger. It's the one who fought. They want to give one to both of you. The ceremony is next week." The honey badger finally tore through the medical tape and promptly tried to get off the bed. Stone sighed and gently pushed it back down. "See what I mean? Absolutely no quit in this animal." Helen arrived with a container of honey cakes. "Thought our hero might want a treat." The honey badger's entire demeanor changed. It sat nicely, eyes focused on the container. When Helen offered a honey cake, the badger took it gently, almost politely. Then it went back to trying to escape the medical bed. Over the following weeks, humanity settled into their new role in the Galactic Assembly. Trade agreements were finalized. Technology exchanges began. Human ships received upgraded engines and weapons. In return, humans provided genetic databases, cultural exchanges, and access to Earth's unique resources. The honey badger recovered fully, just as doctors predicted. It was moved to the new sanctuary, which was indeed much nicer. It escaped the new enclosure within 3 days, raided the facility cafeteria, and had to be recaptured. Some routines never changed. Danny returned to normal life, or as normal as life could be after becoming galactically famous. He still attended school, still did homework, still played with friends, but now alien children across the galaxy knew his name. His story was taught in schools on dozens of worlds. Cruel visited the colony regularly, forming an unlikely friendship with Danny and his mother. The Soren warrior was helping establish a training exchange program, where humans would learn Soren combat techniques and vice versa. He also requested permission to visit the honey badger, which usually involved watching it fight sanctuary drones and escape attempts. "That creature changed my entire worldview," Cruel admitted during one visit. "I thought size and strength determined worth, but watching something that small defeat Gorath through sheer determination, it taught me that spirit matters more than size." The Galactic Assembly proved true to their word. Humanity received equal status, equal voice, equal rights. Some species remained skeptical, but most welcomed humans with genuine respect. The trial had shown that humans brought something valuable to the galaxy. Not advanced technology or military might, but an indomitable spirit forged on a harsh world. Years later, when historians analyzed humanity's integration into galactic society, they pointed to the trial as the turning point, a moment when the galaxy stopped seeing humans as weak newcomers and started seeing them as worthy partners. All because a child accepted an impossible challenge and a small, fierce creature refused to lose. The honey badger lived another 15 years, becoming the most famous animal in galactic history. When it finally died of natural causes, beings from across the galaxy sent condolences. A statue was erected in the new Terra Colony Square, showing Danny and the honey badger side by side. The inscription read simply, "They taught us that courage has no size." But perhaps the most lasting impact was cultural. Across the galaxy, when beings faced impossible odds or overwhelming challenges, they would remember the trial. They would remember the small creature that refused to quit. And they would push forward, finding their own inner honey badger, refusing to surrender no matter what stood in their way. In the end, humanity didn't join the galaxy by being the strongest or the smartest. They joined by being the most stubborn, the most determined, the most unwilling to give up. They joined by embodying the spirit of a small, fierce creature from a harsh world, teaching the galaxy that sometimes the smallest warriors have the biggest hearts.